The stars had always been silent. For thousands of years, humans looked up at the night sky and wondered if they were alone. They built telescopes. They sent signals into the darkness. They dreamed of meeting other beings from distant worlds. But when the answer finally came, it was not what anyone expected. Captain Tay stood on the observation deck of the United Earth Space Station. He was a tall man with tired eyes and gray hair at his temples. He had served in the Earth Defense Force for 23 years. He had seen many things in his career, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Outside the thick glass windows, 3 massive ships hung in the blackness of space. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Each one was the size of a small city. Their surfaces were smooth and dark, like polished stone. Strange lights pulsed along their edges in patterns that made no sense to human eyes. Commander Hannah walked up beside him. She was younger than Tay, with sharp eyes and a calm face. She had been his second in command for 5 years. In all that time, he had never seen her afraid. But today, her hands were shaking slightly. "They are not responding to our greeting signals," she said quietly. "We have tried every frequency, every language pattern we know." Tay nodded slowly. "They will speak when they are ready. We must be patient." But patience was hard. The ships had arrived 3 hours ago. They appeared suddenly, without warning. One moment the space around Earth was empty. The next moment, these giants were there. Every satellite, every telescope, every sensor on the planet was now pointed at them. On Earth below, billions of people were watching. News channels showed the ships on every screen. Governments held emergency meetings. Religious leaders called for prayer. Scientists tried to explain what was happening, but no one really knew anything. Then, without warning, the ships began to glow. A beam of light shot out from the largest vessel. It struck the space station's communication array. For a moment, everything went dark. Then the screens flickered back to life. A face appeared on every monitor in the station. It was not a human face. The skin was pale blue. The eyes were large and completely black. There was no nose, only 2 small slits. The mouth was thin and lipless. "Creatures of the third planet," the being said. Its voice was cold and flat, like a machine speaking. "I am Ambassador Vorin of the Galactic Council. You will listen. You will not speak until I am finished." Tay felt his heart beat faster. This was it. First contact with an alien civilization. He had imagined this moment many times. He had hoped it would be a moment of joy and discovery. But the tone in Vorin's voice told him this was something else entirely. "The Galactic Council has existed for 100,000 of your years," Vorin continued. "We are made of 412 species from across this galaxy. We have watched your planet for a long time. We have seen your wars. We have seen your pollution. We have seen your cruelty to each other and to your world." The alien paused. Its black eyes seemed to stare directly at Tay. "We have decided that your species is not worthy of joining the Council. You are too violent, too primitive, too dangerous. However, your planet has resources that are valuable to us. Your oceans contain minerals we need. Your forests produce compounds we require. Your atmosphere is rich with gases that are rare in this region of space." Hannah grabbed Tay's arm. Her grip was tight. She understood where this was going. "Therefore, the Galactic Council has made a decision," Vorin said. "You will surrender your planet to us. You will give us complete control of your resources. Your species will be relocated to designated areas. You will serve the Council as workers. This is not a negotiation. This is an order." The room was completely silent. Tay could hear his own breathing. He could hear the hum of the station systems. He could hear his heart pounding in his chest. "You have 7 of your days to comply," Vorin said. "If you do not surrender by then, we will take your planet by force. Our weapons are beyond your understanding. Your entire military could be destroyed in minutes. Your cities could be turned to ash in hours. You have no defense against us." The alien leaned closer to the screen. For the first time, something like emotion crossed its face. It was contempt. Pure, cold contempt. "Do not make the mistake of thinking you can fight us. You are insects. You are nothing. The only reason we are giving you 7 days is because the Council believes in order. We follow procedures. But make no mistake, at the end of those 7 days, your world will belong to us. One way or another." The screen went black. The transmission was over. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The weight of what had just happened pressed down on everyone in the room like a physical force. Then Hannah spoke. Her voice was barely a whisper. "What do we do?" Tay turned away from the window. He looked at his crew. He saw fear in their eyes. He saw confusion. He saw despair. These were good people. They had trained their whole lives to explore space, to make contact with other civilizations, to expand human knowledge. Now they faced extinction. But Tay also saw something else. Deep in their eyes, behind the fear, he saw a spark. It was small, but it was there. It was the same spark that had driven humans to survive ice ages and plagues. The same spark that had pushed them to cross oceans and climb mountains. The same spark that had carried them into space in the first place. "We do what humans have always done," Tay said. His voice was steady. "We survive." He walked to the communication console and pressed a button. His face appeared on screens around the world. Every television, every computer, every phone showed his image. Billions of people looked at him and waited. "People of Earth," he said, "you have all heard the message from the Galactic Council. You know what they have demanded. You know what they have threatened." He paused and took a deep breath. "I will not lie to you. The situation is serious. These beings have technology far beyond our own. Their ships are massive. Their weapons are powerful. They believe we have no chance against them." In homes and offices around the world, people held their breath. Mothers hugged their children. Friends held hands. Strangers looked at each other with fear and solidarity. "But I want you to know something," Tay continued. "I want you to remember who we are. We are humans. We have faced impossible odds before. We have survived extinction events. We have overcome diseases that killed millions. We have rebuilt after wars that destroyed everything we built." His voice grew stronger. "They call us insects. They call us nothing. They think we will simply surrender. They think we will bow down and accept slavery. They do not understand us. They do not understand what we are capable of." Hannah watched him speak. She saw the change in him. The tiredness was gone from his eyes. In its place was determination. She felt something shift inside her own chest. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Hope, small and fragile, but real. "In 7 days, we will give them our answer," Tay said. "I do not know yet what that answer will be. But I know this: we will not go quietly. We will not surrender without a fight. We will show them what it means to be human." He ended the transmission. The room was quiet again. But the silence felt different now. It was not the silence of despair. It was the silence of resolve. Tay turned to Hannah. "Get me a secure line to the world governments. All of them. We need to talk. We need a plan." Hannah nodded. "Yes, Captain." As she walked away, Tay looked out the window again. The alien ships still hung there, dark and threatening. They were waiting. They were confident. They believed they had already won. But Tay knew something they did not. He knew that humans were never more dangerous than when their backs were against the wall. He knew that desperation could fuel innovation. He knew that fear could become courage. In bunkers and laboratories around the world, scientists were already working. Engineers were running calculations. Soldiers were training. Politicians were meeting. The entire planet was mobilizing. 7 days. That was all they had. It was not much time, but it was enough. It had to be enough. In a small underground facility in a mountain range, a young engineer named Wu looked at his screen. He had been working on a secret project for 3 years. A theoretical weapon that everyone said was impossible. A device that could disable any electronic system, no matter how advanced. His supervisor had told him the project would never work. The government had cut his funding twice. His colleagues had laughed at his ideas. But he had kept working. Night after night, year after year. Now, as he watched the news about the alien ultimatum, he felt something strange. Not fear, not despair, excitement. He picked up his phone and called his old friend, a scientist named Nari, who worked in another secret facility across the country. "Are you watching this?" he asked. "Yes," she said. Her voice was shaking. "Ooh, what are we going to do?" He smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "Remember that project everyone said was impossible? The one they called crazy?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Yes," Nari said slowly. "What about it?" "I think it is time to finish it," Wu said. "I think it is time to show these aliens what impossible really means." Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. The alien ships waited in orbit, confident in their power. The Galactic Council believed Earth would surrender. They believed humans would bow down and accept their fate. They were wrong. In homes and offices, in laboratories and military bases, 2 days after the ultimatum, Earth sent a delegation to meet with the Galactic Council. It was a gesture of diplomacy, a final attempt to find a peaceful solution. Every government on the planet agreed that they should at least try to talk. The delegation was led by a woman named Sue. She was 62 years old, with white hair and a face that showed decades of experience. She had been a diplomat for 40 years. She had negotiated peace treaties between nations that hated each other. She had ended wars with her words alone. If anyone could find a way to reason with the aliens, it was her. With her came General Day, a military advisor with broad shoulders and a scarred face. He had fought in 3 wars and won them all. He spoke little, but when he did, people listened. His job was not to negotiate. His job was to observe and report. The third member of the delegation was a young translator named Yuri. She was only 25, but she was a genius with languages. In the 2 days since first contact, she had already begun to understand patterns in the alien language. She hoped to bridge the gap between species with her skills. A small shuttle carried them from Earth to the largest alien ship. As they approached, the scale of the vessel became clear. It was not just big. It was overwhelming. The shuttle was like a fly approaching a mountain. Every window showed nothing but dark, smooth metal. The shuttle docked in a massive hangar. The doors opened, and the 3 humans stepped out. The air inside the ship smelled strange, sweet and metallic at the same time. The gravity was slightly heavier than Earth. Every step required extra effort. Ambassador Voren was waiting for them. Behind him stood dozens of other aliens. They were all different species. Some were tall and thin, with multiple arms. Some were short and round, covered in scales. Some looked almost like insects, with compound eyes and clicking mandibles. Some had no visible form at all, just clouds of shifting light. But they all had one thing in common. They were all looking at the humans with the same expression. It was a look that Sue recognized immediately. She had seen it before, in the eyes of powerful people who believed that they were better than everyone else. It was arrogance. Pure, undisguised arrogance. "Welcome to the council vessel," Varn said. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. "We did not expect you to come. Most species simply surrender immediately. They know there is no point in resisting." Sue stepped forward. She kept her back straight and her head high. She would not show fear, even if she felt it. "We come in peace," she said. "We wish to discuss the terms you have offered. Perhaps there is a way for both our peoples to benefit." A ripple of sound moved through the gathered aliens. It took a moment for Sue to realize what it was. They were laughing. Different species made different sounds, but the meaning was clear. They found her words amusing. "Benefit?" Varn repeated. "What benefit could you possibly offer us? You are a primitive species on a small planet in an insignificant corner of the galaxy. You have nothing we want except your resources." "We have knowledge," Sue said calmly. "We have culture. We have art and music and literature. We have ideas that might be new to you." Varn's thin mouth curved into something like a smile. It was not a kind smile. "We have existed for 100,000 years. We have collected the knowledge of 400 species. Your art is crude. Your music is noise. Your ideas are things we considered and discarded before your ancestors climbed out from trees." General Day's hands clenched into fists at his sides. But he said nothing. That was not his role. "Then perhaps we can offer labor," Sue tried. "Willing labor. Partners instead of slaves. We can work together." This time, the laughter was louder. One of the insect-like aliens stepped forward. Its compound eyes glittered as it spoke in a clicking voice that Yuri's device translated into English. "Partners? You want to be partners with us?" The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly. "That is like asking a mountain to be partners with a grain of sand. You do not seem to understand your position, human. You are not here to negotiate. You are here to receive instructions." Sue felt anger rising in her chest, but she pushed it down. Anger would not help. "Then at least tell us why," she said. "Why target Earth? There must be other planets with resources." "Why us?" Varn walked closer to her. He was tall, much taller than any human. He looked down at her like she was a child asking silly questions. "Because you are convenient," he said simply. "Because your planet is in a useful location. Because your species is weak and will be easy to control. There is no grand reason. You are simply unlucky. And if we refuse..." General Day spoke for the first time. His voice was rough and hard. "What if we fight?" Every alien in the room turned to look at him. The silence that followed was heavy and cold. Then Varn made a gesture with one of his long fingers. A hologram appeared in the air. It showed a planet. Green and blue, with white clouds. Beautiful. "This was Kellen 4, Varn said. 12 years ago, the species there refused our demands. They had weapons they believed could hurt us. They were proud and stubborn, like you. The hologram changed. The green and blue disappeared. The planet turned gray and black. Cracks spread across its surface. Fire erupted from the wounds. In seconds, the entire world was burning. This is what remains of Kellen 4, Varn said. 3 billion beings lived there. Now, nothing lives there. Nothing ever will again." Yuri gasped. Sue felt her stomach turn. Even General Day's face went pale. "We do not enjoy destruction," Varn continued. "It is wasteful. But we are willing to do it if necessary. Your military is nothing to us. Your weapons are toys. Your ships are garbage. You have no hope of victory. He leaned closer to Sue. His black eyes reflected her frightened face. So I ask you, little human, is your pride worth the death of your entire species? Is your stubbornness worth the burning of your world? Think carefully before you answer. Sue wanted to speak. She wanted to say something brave and defiant. But no words came. What could she say? They had shown her the fate of an entire world. 3 billion lives ended in moments. How could she condemn her own people to the same fate? I need to consult with my government, she finally managed. Of course, Warren said. He stepped back. You have 5 more days. We are patient. We can wait. But do not test that patience too far. The meeting was over. The humans were escorted back to their shuttle. The journey back to Earth was silent. No one spoke. No one could find words for what they had witnessed. When they returned to the space station, Captain Tay was waiting. He could see from their faces that the meeting had not gone well. What happened? He asked. Sue looked at him with haunted eyes. They showed us a dead planet. A world they destroyed because it refused to surrender. 3 billion people, gone in minutes. Tay felt cold, but he kept his face calm. And what did you tell them? I told them we needed time to think. But Tay, she grabbed his arm. They are not bluffing. They have the power to do exactly what they threatened. We have no defense against them. General Day nodded grimly. I observed their ship. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Maybe thousands of years beyond. A direct fight would be suicide. Tay looked out the window at the alien ships. They still hung there, dark and silent, waiting. Then we do not fight directly, he said quietly. Sue stared at him. What do you mean? I mean, there is more than one way to win a war. He turned to face her. When an enemy is stronger than you do not meet them head on. You find another way. You use what they do not expect. And what is that? General Day asked. Tay smiled. It was a small, tired smile, but there was steel behind it. Their greatest weakness, he said. They underestimate us. They think we are primitive and stupid. They think we will either surrender or die fighting like fools. They have not considered a third option, which is, I do not know yet. Tay admitted. But somewhere on Earth, someone does. We have scientists working on things the Council cannot imagine. We have engineers solving problems the Council thinks are impossible. We have 5 days. That is not much. But humans have done incredible things in less time. He walked to the communication console. What are you doing? Sue asked. Sending a message to every laboratory, every research center, every inventor and engineer on the planet. We need ideas. We need innovation. We need miracles. He pressed the transmit button. And if there is one thing humans are good at, he said, it is making miracles when our backs are against the wall. Far below, on Earth, the message reached thousands of screens. Scientists looked up from their work. Engineers stopped their calculations. Dreamers and thinkers in every country received a call. In the underground facility, Wu and Nari worked without sleep. Their project was progressing faster than ever. The impossible device was becoming possible. In a university basement, a physics student had an idea about disrupting energy fields. In a garage in a small town, a retired engineer remembered an old theory she had never tested. In a military research center, a team discovered something strange in the alien transmissions. The Council did not know it yet. The arrogant aliens who had laughed at humanity did not suspect it. But the seeds of their defeat were already being planted. The mockery would not last forever. Soon, the ones who laughed would learn a hard lesson. They would learn that underestimating humans was the biggest mistake anyone could make. 5 days remained. Then cities, On the third day, Earth went silent. Ambassador Voran stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the planet below. Something had changed. For 2 days, human communications had filled the space around Earth. Radio signals, television broadcasts, satellite transmissions. The noise of a frightened species trying to decide its fate. Now, there was nothing. "Report," Voran ordered. One of his officers hurried forward. "All human transmissions have stopped, Ambassador. Every frequency is quiet. We detect no radio signals, no satellite activity, no electronic communication of any kind." Voran's black eyes narrowed. "Impossible. A species cannot simply stop communicating. Check your instruments." "We have checked 3 times, Ambassador. The instruments are working correctly. The humans have gone dark." Voran turned back to the window. The planet looked peaceful from this distance. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown land. It was hard to believe billions of creatures lived down there. Creatures who now, apparently, had nothing to say. "Perhaps they have surrendered," one of his advisors suggested. "Perhaps they are preparing to accept our terms. Or perhaps they are planning something," Voran replied. He did not like surprises. In all his years as an ambassador, he had never encountered a species that simply went quiet. Most species panicked when faced with the Council's power. They begged, they pleaded, they made desperate offers. Some fought back with hopeless courage. But none had ever just stopped talking. "Should we send a probe to investigate?" the advisor asked. Voran considered this. A probe would give them information, but it would also show weakness. It would show that the Council was curious, maybe even worried. That was not acceptable. "No," he decided. "We wait. They have 4 days left. Let them have their silence. When the deadline arrives, they will speak. They will surrender or they will burn. Either way, this will end." He walked away from the window. But deep in his mind, a small seed of doubt had been planted. Something about this silence bothered him. He could not explain why. Far below, in the underground facility, Wu had not slept in 72 hours. His eyes were red and his hands shook from too much coffee. But he could not stop. He was so close. So incredibly close. The device in front of him looked simple. It was a black box, about the size of a small refrigerator. Wires and cables connected it to dozens of monitors and machines. Inside the box, something revolutionary was waiting to be born. Nari sat at a computer nearby, running calculations. She had joined Wu in his facility after the Council's ultimatum. Together, they had made more progress in 3 days than Wu had made in 3 years alone. "The power coupling is still unstable," she said without looking up. "If we activate the device at full power, it could explode. Then we need to find a way to stabilize it," Wu replied. He wiped sweat from his forehead. "We do not have time for failure, Nari. The Council will not wait. I know." Her voice was tired but determined. "Give me an hour. I have an idea." While they worked, Captain Tay was meeting with the leaders of Earth's nations. The meeting was held in a deep bunker, far beneath the surface. No electronic devices were allowed inside. All communication was done in person, face-to-face, word of mouth. This was Earth's new strategy. Complete radio silence. The Council could intercept electronic communications. They could listen to phone calls, read emails, monitor broadcasts. But they could not hear whispers in underground rooms. They could not read notes passed from hand to hand. "The blackout is working," Tay reported to the gathered leaders. "The Council has no idea what we are doing. They assume we are either preparing to surrender or too scared to act. And what are we actually doing?" asked a gray-haired woman who led the European Alliance. "We are working on a weapon," Tay said. "Not a weapon of destruction. A weapon of disruption." Engineer Wu and scientist Nari, are close to completing a device that can disable any electronic system. Any system at all. Murmurs of surprise ran through the room. "Is this possible?" asked the leader of the Asian coalition. "The Council's technology is far beyond ours. How can we affect their systems?" "Because all electronic systems, no matter how advanced, follow the same basic principles," Tay explained. "They use energy. They transmit information through pulses and waves. Wu's device does not attack the systems directly. It disrupts the fundamental energy patterns that all systems need to function. And this will work against the Council ships?" "In theory, yes. But we have not been able to test it. We will not know for certain until we use it." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what Tay was saying. They were betting the future of humanity on an untested weapon. If it failed, Earth would burn. "What choice do we have?" Tay asked quietly. "Surrender means slavery. Fighting with conventional weapons means certain death. This is our only hope." After a long moment, the gray-haired woman nodded. "Then we must trust your scientists. What do you need from us?" "Time," Tay said. "Keep the silence. Keep the Council guessing. And when the moment comes, be ready to act." On the Council ship, the silence continued. Hours passed, then days. Ambassador Vorin grew more uncomfortable with each passing moment. His officers reported nothing. No human ships launched. No weapons were detected. No messages were sent. It was as if the entire planet had simply given up. "They are broken," one of his officers suggested. "The fear has overwhelmed them. They cannot function." "Perhaps," Vorin said. But he did not believe it. He had studied humans before coming to Earth. He had read reports about their history. This was a species that had survived ice ages and asteroid impacts. They had fought wars that killed millions and rebuilt every time. They did not simply break. On the fourth day, Vorin made a decision. He would send a message to Earth, not a threat. An invitation. "People of Earth," his voice boomed across all frequencies that could reach the planet. "Your silence concerns me. I wish to assure you that surrender is not shameful. Many species have joined the Council's service. They live comfortable lives. They are fed and housed and given purpose. There is no need for fear." He waited for a response. None came. "I offer you a gift of good faith," he continued. "If you surrender now, before the deadline, I will personally ensure that your leaders are treated with respect. They will serve as administrators of their own people. They will have power and privilege. All I ask is your cooperation." Still no response. The silence was absolute. Vorin felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Frustration. These creatures were not behaving as they should. Every other species had responded to his offers. Some with acceptance, some with rejection, but always with response. This silence was different. It was deliberate. It was planned. And it made him nervous. In the underground facility, Wu looked at the device. It was finished. After 3 years of work and 5 days of desperate effort, it was finally ready. "Are you sure it will work?" Nari asked. She stood beside him, staring at the black box with a mixture of hope and fear. "I am sure of the science," Wu said. "The theory is sound. The calculations are correct. Whether it will work in practice," he shrugged. "We will find out soon. When do we tell Captain Tay?" "Now." Wu picked up a piece of paper and wrote a short message. In this world of electronic silence, paper had become precious. He handed the note to a waiting messenger, who ran out of the room without a word. 2 hours later, Captain Tay stood in the facility, looking at the device. "Explain it to me," he said. "In simple terms." Wu nodded. "Every electronic system uses energy in specific patterns. This device creates a pulse that disrupts those patterns. When activated, it will cause every electronic system within its range to shut down. Not destroyed, just turned off. And the range? That is the remarkable part. Wu could not hide his pride. The pulse is not limited by distance. It is targeted by frequency. We can tune it to affect specific types of systems. Or we can make it broad, affecting everything. Tay's eyes widened. You mean we can shut down the Council's ships? In theory, yes. Their ships use electronic systems, just like ours. More advanced, but still electronic. The pulse should affect them the same way. Should? Wu hesitated. We have never tested it on alien technology. There is a chance it will not work. There is a chance it will work only partially. There is a chance. He stopped. What chance? There is a small chance that the pulse could interact badly with their technology. It could cause explosions, damage, death. Tay thought about this. He thought about the dead planet the Council had shown them. 3 billion lives ended in moments. He thought about his own people. 7 billion souls waiting to see if they would survive. If their ships explode, is that not a good thing? He asked. It depends on how you define good, Nari said quietly. We are not murderers, Captain. We want to survive, not to kill. If we destroy them completely, we become no better than they are. Tay nodded slowly. She was right. Humanity's goal was not destruction. It was survival. And maybe, just maybe, something more. Can you control the intensity? He asked. Make it strong enough to shut them down, but not strong enough to destroy them? Wu and Nari exchanged glances. We think so, Wu said. But there is no guarantee. There never is, Tay said. He looked at the device one more time. Then he made his decision. Prepare it. We use it on the 7th day, 1 hour before the deadline. He walked toward the door, then stopped. And Wu, Nari? Thank you. Whatever aches, the 7th day arrived like any other. The sun rose over Earth's eastern horizon, painting the clouds in shades of orange and gold. Billions of people woke up knowing that this might be their last morning. Parents hugged their children a little longer. Lovers spoke words they had been too afraid to say before. Strangers nodded to each other on the streets, sharing a bond that only the threat of extinction could create. In orbit. Ambassador Voran stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the planet turn slowly below. His patience had run out. 7 days of silence. 7 days of waiting. 7 days of nothing. Prepare the fleet for attack position, he ordered. If they will not surrender, we will take what we came for. His officers moved quickly. Across all 3 ships, weapon systems powered up. Targeting computers calculated trajectories. Soldiers prepared for ground invasion. The machinery of conquest began to turn. Ambassador, one of his officers called out. We are detecting a transmission from the planet. First communication in 4 days. Voran felt a surge of satisfaction. Finally, they had broken. The silence had been nothing but a delay, a desperate attempt to pretend that hope still existed. Put it through, he commanded. A hologram appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed a human male. He had tired eyes and gray hair at his temples. Voran recognized him from the intelligence reports. Captain Tay, commander of Earth's defense forces. Ambassador Voran, Tay said. His voice was calm and steady. I am contacting you to give Earth's response to your ultimatum. Voran smiled his thin, lipless smile. I am pleased to hear it. You have made the wise choice. Surrender is not shameful, Captain. Your people will be treated fairly as long as they cooperate. We are not surrendering, Tay said. The smile faded from Voran's face. What? I said we are not surrendering. We do not accept your terms. We do not recognize your authority. And we do not fear your threats. Voron's black eyes hardened. Then you are fools. You have seen what we can do. You know, you have no chance against us. Do you want your world to burn? Our world will not burn, Tay said. Not today. Not by your hand. You are delusional. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your ships cannot match ours. What do you think you can possibly do? Tay looked directly into the camera. His eyes showed no fear, no desperation, only quiet confidence. We do not beg, he said. We endure. And then the transmission ended. Voron stared at the empty space where the hologram had been. Anger boiled inside him. How dare these insects defy the council? How dare they pretend they had power? Launch the attack, he snarled. Begin with their major cities. Show them the price of defiance. His officers rushed to obey. Weapon systems locked onto targets. Energy began to build in the massive cannons that lined the ships. In seconds, the bombardment would begin. In minutes, Earth's great cities would be nothing but craters. When everything stopped, it was not a gradual shutdown. It was instant and complete. One moment, the ship was humming with power, lights glowing, screens flickering with data. The next moment, darkness. Voron felt the artificial gravity fail. He floated up from the floor, his arms flailing for something to hold. Around him, his officers drifted helplessly in the black void. What is happening? He screamed. Report. Someone report. But there was no report. There was no power for the communication systems. No power for the lights. No power for anything. The great ship, the most advanced vessel in the Council's fleet, had become a dead chunk of metal floating in space far below. In the underground facility, Wu and Nari watched their monitors. The pulse had worked. Better than they had hoped. All 3 ships are dead, Nari whispered. She could barely believe what she was seeing. Complete system failure across the board. Wu leaned back in his chair. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, but from exhaustion and relief. 3 years of work. 5 days of desperate effort. And now, success. We did it, he said quietly. We actually did it. On the space station, Captain Tay watched the alien ships go dark. Beside him, Commander Hana gripped the edge of a console, tears streaming down her face. They are not destroyed, she said. Just disabled. Just like you wanted. Tay nodded. Get me a connection to Earth. Every frequency, every channel. I want the whole world to hear this. Hannah worked the controls. A moment later, Tay's face appeared on every screen on the planet. Televisions in homes. Computers in offices. Phones in hands. Billboards in cities. Every display that could receive a signal now showed Captain Tay. People of Earth, he said. I am pleased to inform you that the threat to our planet has been neutralized. The Council's fleet has been disabled. Their weapons are silent. Their ships are powerless. We are safe. For a long moment, there was silence. Then, all at once, the world erupted. In Tokyo, crowds flooded the streets, cheering and crying. In London, strangers embraced each other. In New York, a spontaneous celebration began in Times Square. In small villages and great cities, across every continent and every time zone, humanity celebrated its survival. But Captain Tay was not finished. I want to be clear about what happened here, he continued. We did not destroy the Council's fleet. We did not kill their soldiers. We could have. Our weapon had that power. But we chose not to. The celebrations paused. People listened. We are not conquerors, Tay said. We are not destroyers. We are survivors. We defended our home. We protected our people. But we did not become monsters in the process. The council came to us with threats and demands. They called us insects. They called us nothing. They expected us to bow down or die. He paused, letting his words sink in. They were wrong. We did not bow. We did not die. And we did not become like them. That is what it means to be human. In orbit, on the dark and silent ship, Ambassador Varn floated in the blackness. He could hear his officers shouting in confusion and fear. He could feel the cold creeping in as the life support systems failed. He could see nothing. For the first time in his long life, Varn felt helpless. He had faced rebellions before. He had crushed resistance on a dozen worlds. He had watched planets burn and felt nothing but satisfaction. He was a servant of the Council, and the Council always won. But not today. Today, an insignificant species on a small planet had done the impossible. They had stopped the Council. They had won. How? Voran's mind raced through possibilities. Some kind of weapon, obviously. Something that could disable electronic systems. But that was impossible. The Council's technology was protected against such attacks. Their ships had shields and backups and failsafes. None of it had mattered. Whatever the humans had done, it had bypassed everything. A terrible thought occurred to Varn. If Earth had this technology, they could share it with other worlds. They could give it to every species that the Council had conquered or threatened. The balance of power that had existed for 100,000 years could shift overnight. This was not just a defeat. This was a catastrophe. Hours passed. The cold grew worse. Voran could see his breath in the darkness. Some of his officers had stopped moving. He did not know if they were unconscious or dead. Then, suddenly, there was light. A hatch opened. Figures in spacesuits entered the ship. They carried flashlights and emergency equipment. They moved efficiently, pulling the drifting aliens to safety, checking their life signs, providing heat and oxygen. Voran found himself staring at a human face through a helmet visor. A young woman with determined eyes. "Do not struggle," she said. Her voice came through a speaker in her suit. "We are here to help. You will not be harmed." "Help?" Voran could barely speak. His lips were blue with cold. "Why would you help us?" "Because that is who we are," the woman said simply. "Now please, let us get you to a warm ship. You have much to answer for, but you do not have to die today." Voran let them take him. He had no strength left to resist. As he was carried through the dark corridors of his dead ship, he saw more humans working to rescue his crew. They saved everyone they could, regardless of species, regardless of what those beings had come to do. He did not understand. These creatures had defeated him. They had humiliated the entire Galactic Council. They had every right to take revenge, to let the Council soldiers die in the cold darkness. But they did not. They saved them instead. On Earth, the celebrations continued. But in the meeting rooms and bunkers, the leaders were already planning the next step. Victory was only the beginning. "The Council will send more ships," General Day warned. "When they learn what happened, they will want revenge." "Perhaps," Captain Tay agreed. "But now they know we can fight back. They will have to think carefully before attacking again." "Can we build more of Wu's devices?" asked the leader of the European Alliance. Tay nodded. "Wu and Nari are already working on it. Within a month, we can have dozens of them deployed around the planet. Any fleet that approaches Earth will face the same fate." "And then what?" asked another leader. "We cannot live under siege forever. Eventually, we must find a way to make peace." "I agree," Tay said. "That is why we saved their crews. We are not at war with the Council's soldiers. We are at war with the Council's attitude. They see us as insects. We need to change that perception. And how do we do that?" Tay thought about the question. He thought about Ambassador Voron's arrogant face. He thought of the Galactic Council had ruled the stars for 100,000 years. In all that time, they had never once been defeated. Species had resisted. Worlds had fought back. But in the end, the Council always won. Their technology was supreme. Their numbers were endless. Their power was absolute. Until now. In the great chamber on the Council's homeworld, chaos reigned. Representatives from 400 species shouted and screamed at each other. Some demanded immediate retaliation against Earth. Some called for caution. Some whispered that perhaps the Council's era was ending. High Counselor Marin stood at the center of the storm, trying to restore order. She was ancient, even by the standards of her long-lived species. Her skin was the color of old bronze, covered in patterns that told the story of her life. She had led the Council for 3,000 years. She had never seen anything like this. Silence, she commanded. Her voice echoed through the chamber, amplified by technology so old that no one remembered who built it. We will have order. Slowly, the noise died down. The representatives turned to face her, waiting. 3 of our most powerful ships have been disabled by a primitive species on a backwater planet, Marin said. Ambassador Voron and his entire crew are in human custody. This is a humiliation without precedent. Then we must respond with overwhelming force, shouted a representative from one of the warrior species. Send 100 ships. 1,000. Burn that world to ash. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. But Marin raised her hand for silence. And what happens when those ships are also disabled? She asked quietly. What happens when 100 ships, or 1,000, drift powerless in the void around Earth? We do not know how the humans achieve this. We do not know the range or limitations of their weapon. Sending more ships could simply mean giving them more prisoners. The chamber fell silent. The warrior representative had no answer. There is something else, Marin continued. The humans did not destroy our ships. They could have. The power failure they caused was total. Life support failed. Weapons failed. Everything failed. They could have left our people to die in the cold darkness. Instead, they sent rescue teams. They saved our soldiers. They treated the wounded. They gave food and warmth to those who came to conquer them. A trick, someone muttered. They want something from us. Of course they want something, Marin said. But the question is, what do we want? Do we want another Kellen 4? Do we want to destroy a world that has proven it can fight back? Or do we want something different? Before anyone could answer, an aide rushed into the chamber. High Counselor, we are receiving a transmission from Earth. They wish to speak with you directly. Marin considered this. In all her years, no conquered species had ever requested to speak with the High Counselor. But then, no conquered species had ever disabled a council fleet either. Put it through, she ordered. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a human male. Gray hair, tired eyes, but standing straight and proud. The representative stirred uneasily. High Counselor Marin, the human said. I am Captain Tay, speaking on behalf of the United Earth Government. Thank you for receiving my transmission. Marin studied him carefully. He did not look like a warrior. He looked like someone who had seen too much and slept too little. But his voice was steady and his gaze did not waver. You have caused great trouble, Captain Tay, she said. Many in this chamber want your world destroyed. Convince me why I should not give that order. Tay nodded slowly. I understand your anger. You are not used to being challenged. Your council has ruled this galaxy for a very long time. But things change, High Counselor. Empires rise and fall. What seems permanent today becomes history tomorrow. Is that a threat? No, It is a truth, one that applies to us as well as to you. Tay paused, choosing his words carefully. We did not disable your fleet to start a war. We did it to prevent one. Your ambassador gave us a choice, surrender or die. We chose neither. We chose to survive, but not through violence. You call disabling our ships nonviolent? I call it merciful. We could have destroyed those ships. We chose not to. We could have killed your soldiers. Instead, we saved them. We do not want to be your enemies, High Counselor, but we will not be your slaves. The chamber buzzed with whispered conversations. Several representatives looked shocked. Others looked thoughtful. A few even looked impressed. What do you want, Captain Tay? Marin asked. Equality, Tay said simply. We want to join the Galactic Council as equal members. Not as servants or workers. Not as a conquered species. As partners. Laughter erupted from several corners of the chamber. The idea seemed absurd. Humans were primitives. Their civilization was less than 10,000 years old. How could they possibly be equal to species that had traveled the stars for millions of years? But Marin did not laugh. She studied Tay's face, looking for weakness, for doubt. She found none. And if we refuse? She asked. Then we will defend ourselves. We have already shown we can disable your ships. We can build more devices. We can share the technology with other species. We can create alliances with worlds that have suffered under council rule. We do not want to do these things, but we will if we must. The chamber fell silent. The threat was clear. Earth was not just fighting for itself. It was offering hope to every species that had ever been conquered or threatened by the Council. Marin realized, with a cold feeling in her ancient heart, that this was not just about one planet. This was about the future of the entire galaxy. You ask for much, she said slowly. The Council does not simply accept new members. There are tests, evaluations, procedures that take centuries. We do not have centuries, Tay replied. And frankly, neither do you. Your power has always been based on fear. What happens when species stop being afraid? What happens when they realize that the Council can be defeated? He leaned forward slightly, his eyes intense. You can continue as you always have. You can try to destroy us and risk failure. You can watch as your empire crumbles world by world. Or you can change. You can recognize that there is a better way. A way where species work together instead of dominating each other. And you believe humans can lead this change? I believe humans can show it is possible. We are not perfect. We have made many mistakes in our history. We have wars and cruelty and injustice of our own. But we have also learned. We have grown. And we have discovered that cooperation is stronger than conquest. Marin was silent for a long moment. She looked around the chamber at the faces of 400 species. Some showed anger. Some showed fear. But others showed something different. Something that looked almost like hope. I will consider your request, she said finally. You will have your answer within one of your days. The transmission ended. The chamber erupted into argument once more. But Marin knew, even as she listened to the shouting, that the decision had already been made. Not by her, not by the Council, by history itself. The old ways were ending. Something new was beginning. One day later, a message arrived on Earth. It was short and formal in the style of Council communications. But its contents would change the galaxy forever. To the United Earth Government, it read, After careful consideration, the Galactic Council has decided to accept your proposal. Earth will be granted full membership in the Council, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Ambassador Vorin and his crew will be returned to Council space. In exchange, The Council asks only for one thing: your word that the technology you have developed will not be shared with hostile parties. Tay read the message 3 times before he believed it. They had won. Not just survival, but recognition. Not just safety, but equality. In the underground facility, Wu and Nari celebrated with quiet exhaustion. They had saved the world, and now they could finally sleep. In homes around the planet, families looked up at the stars with new eyes. The universe was no longer a source of fear. It was a frontier waiting to be explored. Ambassador Vorin, before returning to Council space, asked to speak with Captain Tay one final time. "I do not understand you," Vorin admitted. They stood in a small room on the space station, alone. "We came to enslave your world. You defeated us. And yet, you showed us mercy. Why?" Tay thought about the question. He remembered the fear of those first days, the weight of responsibility, the desperate hope that had driven them all. "Because vengeance is easy," he said finally, "but mercy is hard. And humans have learned that the hard path is often the right one." Vorin shook his head slowly. "Your species is strange, Captain. You fight without destroying. You win without conquering. I think the Council has much to learn from you." "And we have much to learn from the Council," Tay replied. "That is the point. We are not here to replace you. We are here to grow together." Vorin left for home that day, and in the years that followed, he would often think about that conversation. He would watch as Earth's influence spread through the Council. He would see species that had been dominated for millennia begin to demand their rights. He would witness the slow transformation of an empire built on fear into something new, something better. It did not happen overnight. There were setbacks and conflicts and moments when it seemed like the old ways would return. But humanity had planted a seed, and that seed continued to grow.